Everybody. Today we are talking to Jason Leibowitz. He is the head of business development at this really cool company called Meanwhile. I learned about it at the Bitcoin conference earlier this year, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to learn more about this. And I'm happy that I did. They just got $82 million in funding. It's growing. It's really cool. It's like you can get this, it's called Bitcoin-denominated life insurance. And basically you can borrow against it and you can grow your Bitcoin totally tax-free. And then it solves all these issues for when people pass away on like transferring your Bitcoin and things like that, because people don't need to know anything about a wallet or anything. They have Anchorage managing all this. So they got this 82 million. Sam Altman of OpenAI is involved. Like he believes in this and he invested in it. This year, they also had a $50 million Series A round come in. There are a lot of big organizations like Bain Capital Crypto, Han Ventures, Pantera, Apollo involved with this, Northwestern Mutual, and make sure I don't forget anyone. Let me see, Stillmark, Framework Ventures, and Folger Ventures invested earlier this year. I think this is really cool and you should check it out. One thing that lots of women ask me about is, okay, so I have this Bitcoin, but about my kids, or what happens if something happens to me, or, so I think this is really interesting and something we should all know about. So over, over to the interview. So can you tell people who may not know who you are and what you've done in the past, maybe what
Sure.
you were doing last year? Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've been in the crypto space for over 12 years now. Before that, I was in traditional Wall Street, and I discovered Bitcoin in 2013 and became absolutely fascinated. Uh, I started a crypto fund in New York in 2014. I joined Credit Suisse to launch their blockchain and digital asset strategy from 2016 to 2020. Got a lot of clients of the bank, this global Swiss bank, that started to ask about investing in crypto, especially after 2017, when Bitcoin started the year at 1,000, ended the year at 20,000, and subsequently the ICO bubble popped and crashed back down to 3,000 in 2018 and 19. But everyone was interested in what is Bitcoin and this asset class and how do we invest. And being a very conservative Swiss bank, with ultra high net worth clients and family office clients who are started to ask more and more and more, help us buy Bitcoin. Should we buy ETH? What are the coins? What weights? What ratios? Where do you buy? Who are the best counterparties? How do you make sure that you do proper due diligence on your counterparties? How do you lower your cost profile? And once you acquire crypto, what do you do with it in terms of custody? Do you self-custody? Do you third-party custody? Is there insurance? What happens if you pass away? What about estate and tax planning? All these questions. And with every other asset class, these clients of the bank would get answers and would get their hands held, especially when they're VIP, wealthy clients, through the private bank to get allocated the way they wanted. But with crypto in 2018 and 19, just like most other banks in the world, the answer was, we do not touch crypto. And yet all these clients wanted access. And so what happened was they started to ask for anyone at the bank who can help them. And of course, there was a blockchain team. So I was fielding lots of conference calls, 70 or so over the course of 2 years, 2018 and 2019, with the same type of clientele, these, generally baby boomer patriarchs. And they just wanted exposure to crypto. And I knew how to help them, but I was told, we do not help anyone get Bitcoin. God forbid they should lose money and they sue the bank and da da da. So I realized, though, that there was an opportunity to start a business because this is a very underserved community that had a lot of demand for allocations. And so I did just that. January 2020, I left Credit Suisse and I started my own company, which was a white glove concierge geared towards this high net worth family office community, helping them allocate from the traditional capital markets asset classes into crypto. And it was an interesting time because this was right before COVID lockdown. And during COVID, obviously the pandemic response, the economic response to the pandemic was very good for risk assets, especially crypto. And these clients who started to buy Bitcoin and maybe a little ETH, the market was ripping. MicroStrategy began to buy Tesla, other corporations started to allocate into the space. And obviously, if you recall, 2020 and 2021 were like boom times for the crypto market. And built this business, and then ultimately, it was like I'd call it an off-chain private wealth asset managing style business for helping these clients allocate to crypto. And I ultimately joined an on-chain asset manager that was looking to build out a private wealth business. So I had the off-chain version, they had the on-chain version. We merged the two companies essentially. And then that company was acquired by Circle in January of this year. And I had actually discovered my current company, meanwhile, last year, and Bitcoin-denominated life insurance. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. And I quickly got my own policy, and it solved so many problems for me. And it really was this unbelievable product that I couldn't believe I hadn't heard of before, about because it didn't exist really before. And when my previous fund was acquired by Circle, I immediately reached out to the Meanwhile team and I said, guys, I've been in the space for 12 years, and this is the single most interesting product I've ever come across. How do you not have 50,000 clients already? And the CEO, Zach, he kind of shrugged his shoulders. He was like, why don't you come join us, and, we'll make up a title for you, call you, head of business development. They'll run strategy, distribution, partnerships, and, help us get there. And so I did. It's the story of like, the product is so good that you have to join the company. And that's kind of what I did. So, yeah, Bitcoin denominated life insurance is really like this cool, brilliant, yet simple product that merges this 300+ year old life insurance vehicle, which is a long-term, retirement type of generational wealth product, with Bitcoin, which is a long-term hodl asset. Those who really know want to hold Bitcoin for as long as humanly possible, maybe hopefully pass it down to their children or their family one day. And the question is, how do you do that? Because, it's estimated between 15 and 20% of all Bitcoin that's ever been mined is permanently lost forever. And so how do you make sure that your Bitcoin outlives you? If you were to, if you have Bitcoin self-custody and you pass away tomorrow, God forbid, you get hit by a bus or whatever it might be, how does your Bitcoin go to your family? Take care of those that you love, that you want it to go to. Whereas if you have, passwords or private keys memorized in your head and you're gone, well, then the Bitcoin's dying with you. So this is the problem, a problem that this product solves, but happy to get into more detail however you want, Kelly.
Yeah. Okay. So to back up, you sold your company that you started to Circle. That's really,
I merged my company with
yeah.
this company called Hashnote, and Hashnote was then acquired by Circle. And Circle only wanted a piece of Hashnote, not the private wealth piece, because they're a stablecoin company, and we had a yielding stablecoin. And then I reached out to Meanwhile, and Meanwhile hired me to help them.
Okay. Okay. But that's a really big deal and really cool. So I just wanted to like stop for a second there and be like, that was really cool. You're really successful, yet you believe in Meanwhile so much and you loved it so much that you were like, I want to go back to work. Because, some
Oh,
people don't
100%.
work. Some people, like I have friends that like start a company, sell it, and then they take several years off or whatever. But like, yeah.
This
So
business, this industry is
yeah.
just getting started. I'm so passionately obsessed and have a high level of conviction in crypto and Bitcoin specifically, and I think it's so under adopted. And there's such an education gap globally, that I'm excited to work in this space and to help grow products that really better people's lives. Because I feel like my mission has always been in the crypto space, has always been like combination of investing in this amazing, highly convex asset with asymmetric upside potential where it can make me wealthy, but also everyone should own some of it. Like some percentage of your net worth should be in this. And I want to help you and make you wealthy and better off. And so it's kind of this like two birds, one stone. Like I want to get wealthy in, business and success, financial success in life. But I also think that I can do it. And I know I can do it by helping others in a similar fashion, whether it's to allocate into crypto as I was during, my COVID business, or to protect their Bitcoin for the long term and get yield and have it grow tax free and allow you to monetize your Bitcoin tax free and allow you to pass on more Bitcoin than you originally had in the beginning to your family through life insurance tax free. And that's what Meanwhile does. So it's like this, best of both worlds. I feel like I'm doing good, but also following my passion, which is Bitcoin.
How does it work? So if I want to go and get your life insurance, what do I do? Can you walk
Okay,
me through the
so yeah,
steps?
no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And do
So
I pick a plan or how does it work?
no, we have one product. We try to keep it as simple as possible. We have some, veterans from the traditional life insurance industry who built our product, and we're kind of sick of the old life insurance industry because it got so complicated and expensive, and inflation is not helping anything in the fiat life insurance world because these dollars that you're putting away in traditional life insurance, the purchasing power is going down by the year or less. And so something's broken. And when they came to Meanwhile, they wanted to build life insurance in Bitcoin and strip away all the complicated parts and make it as simple as possible. So with traditional life insurance, you go to a carrier and you ask them for coverage. And you say, I want, $1 million in death benefit coverage for a whole life policy. They'll crunch numbers based on your age, health, sex, smoking status, and dictate to you an amount of premium that you have to pay either each month or each year. In that premium are obviously baked in fees and expenses. And that premium in whole life, not term, but whole life, goes into an investment account, like a mutual fund that has a guaranteed growth rate of 4 or 5% a year. And it grows over time, 4 or 5% a year, every year, no matter what the rest of the market is doing. And what you have, because it's whole life, is the ability to borrow out of this investment account, out of this mutual fund, tax free. Everything in whole life is tax free. And the reason is because life insurance is, it protects you, protects your family, protects your loved ones, creates less dependency on the government, less welfare, less handouts. And so the government has created all these incentive structures to try to incentivize their citizens to buy life insurance for those protection reasons. And the way they do that, the incentivization levers that they've built in are no taxes. Assets grow tax-free in whole life, and you can borrow out of your policy tax-free. And when you die and your family gets what's left over, that's tax-free as well. And so if you can afford it, they want you to buy it. Now that's traditional life insurance. And I guess the last piece of that is you can borrow out of it. You don't have to wait till you're 59 and a half, like with an IRA or Roth IRA. You can borrow up to a certain percentage of your surrender value of your life insurance policy, with no age limits or restrictions, and you never have to repay that loan. So let's say you have that $1 million policy, and in 2 decades, it's up 30%, the investment account. Well, you could borrow, call it up to 90% of the surrender value. Maybe it'll say $100,000, and you don't have to pay that $100,000 back. It'll net out of the death benefit. So your death benefit was $1 million, you borrowed 100K, your new death benefit's $900,000. There's an interest rate that you have to pay on that borrow, like 6-7%. But it'll also get netted out of the remaining death benefit of that 900,000. So you can use that 100,000 tax-free, but do whatever you want, life expenses, down payment on a house, whatever it might be. That's traditional life insurance. Now enter Meanwhile, a fully Bitcoin-denominated whole life insurance carrier. We're based in Bermuda, like so many other insurance companies in the world, life insurance, reinsurance, you name it. There's over 1,200 insurance carriers in Bermuda. And it's one of the destinations for all insurance companies on the planet because of the credibility and legitimacy of their regulators, the Bermuda Monetary Authority, to properly and conservatively regulate and license insurance companies. So we're there, and they're very forward thinking and innovative. So they were embracing of Meanwhile, this Bitcoin denominated life insurance. We're on the Bitcoin standard. Bitcoin is our currency, which means that for our whole life product, and we don't do term, it's only whole life insurance. You pay your premiums in Bitcoin, your death benefits paid out in Bitcoin, and those policy loans that I mentioned just now, those are in Bitcoin too. And if the price of Bitcoin is up, then you're getting these policy loans at a new stepped up cost basis to make it tax free. The same way that when you borrowed that out of your life insurance and traditional, it was up 30%. You don't have to pay any gains on that 30% appreciation. The same thing exists in Bitcoin, but a few things had to be changed around for us to be on the Bitcoin standard and for this to work for people to buy policies in Bitcoin. So let's use an example. Um, a 35-year-old healthy non-smoking male wants a policy. Now, whereas with traditional life, they ask for coverage and then they were told how much premium to pay. We can't do that on the Bitcoin standard because Bitcoin's a scarce asset. So instead, because we can't tell you you have to pay 10 Bitcoin in premium or five, you might say, what are you talking about? I only have 7 Bitcoin in premium that I can use. I don't have that much Bitcoin. Well, it's a scarce asset. We don't know how much Bitcoin anyone has. And so instead of asking for coverage, which is the typical model, you come to Meanwhile with an amount of Bitcoin that you have that you want to use as premium. We will then crunch numbers based on your age, your health, sex, and whether you're a smoker or not, and give you a death benefit ratio that you will get in Bitcoin relative to the amount of premium that you want to use. So the premium, the product we built is called a 10 pay or limited pay non-participating policy. What that means is you're going to pay your premiums over 10 years in equal annual installments, so 1/10 at a time for 10 years, and then you're done for life. There's no more premiums after 10 years. Your policy lasts your whole life, hence whole life. So for this 35-year-old healthy non-smoking male, let's say he wants to use 10 Bitcoin as premium. Well, he would get about 18, just under 18 Bitcoin in death benefit because he's 35 years old. We compound we give you a yield, a 2% annual compounded growth rate in Bitcoin terms that you get on your Bitcoin over the course of your life. That's how 10 Bitcoin in premium turns into 18 Bitcoin in death benefit. We amortize out to age 100. So for a 35-year-old, that's 65 years of 2% compounded growth rate. So 10 Bitcoin becomes 10.2, 10.4, so on. Do the math. 2% a year on average gives you about 18 Bitcoin by age 100. So that's how everything's calculated. If you're 60 years old, 10 Bitcoin in premium might only give you 11 in death benefit because you're closer to death. There's more health complications. And more importantly, there's less time to compound that 2% growth rate. And if you're an 18-year-old female, which is the youngest, and if you're healthy, biggest ratio, we give 10 Bitcoin in premium gives over 25 Bitcoin in death benefit. So it's a 2.5x or 150% return you'd get. So back to the example. Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. So well, I mean, you might want to go ahead, but I do have my next question is just about like, well, what happens if you die? And then,
Totally.
yeah.
There's always that morbidity element in life insurance, unfortunately. But that's the nature of the business. So I'll get to that in a second. I think it makes most logical sense for me to start with paying premiums and how it works, and then we'll get to what happens when there's a claim. So this 35-year-old male, we'll just keep using this example because it's a good round number. So 10 Bitcoin premium, he pays 1 Bitcoin a year for 10 years. And his death benefit's 18. So that's an 80% return or an 8 extra Bitcoin that he gets. How else can you get 8 extra Bitcoin without, life insurance at this conservative 2% growth rate over the course of his life? And I mentioned policy loans earlier. Policy loans are really interesting in Bitcoin. Because when it comes to life insurance, you don't have to repay the loan and you're never at risk of a margin call. So this is how that works. Let's say Bitcoin goes to $1 million in the future. Let's say 5 years from now, Bitcoin's at $1 million a coin. And you want some cash. You want to buy a house, whatever it might be. And you need $2 million in cash. Well, you have 2 options if you have some Bitcoin. Option 1 is sell Bitcoin at $1 million. You're going to pay a very big capital gains tax relative to your cost basis. Option 2, if you have a policy with Meanwhile, is originate a policy loan. That means that you're going to borrow Bitcoin out of your policy. And the way it works is as follows. So you can borrow up to 90% of the surrender value, and everything's online. And we have an online portal for all of our policyholders. So you log into your portal, you'll see available loan amount, you'll click it. You'll see the maximum amount is 90% of your surrender value. And this person, he only needs 2 Bitcoin because he needs 2 million cash. So he wants to borrow 2 Bitcoin. So we then ask him for a wallet address. He gives us a Bitcoin wallet address. We then have to screen it with Chainalysis, make sure that the Bitcoin's not going to North Korea or something like that. And once it's screened, we send him to Bitcoin. His death benefit was 18. It now nets down to 16 because just like the $1 million traditional policy, you borrow 100K, it nets down to 900K, you never have to repay it. Same here, except it's in Bitcoin. 18 death benefit, you borrow 2, your new death benefit 16, you never have to repay the loan. Meanwhile is done at this point, but he wants cash. We haven't given him cash. You don't get cash from Meanwhile. Everything's in Bitcoin. We operate solely in Bitcoin and there is no dollars or fiat. So what do you have to do? Well, this person has to then go and sell the Bitcoin. So they go to an exchange and they want to sell 2 Bitcoin, but the exchange says, hold on, where did this Bitcoin come from and what's the cost basis for tax purposes? Well, he'll have a loan document that proves that it comes from his regulated life insurance policy. Meanwhile, this Bermuda life insurance carrier. And the cost basis, well, this is where it gets interesting. The cost basis is established on the day you originate the loan. So while he might have bought his Bitcoin years ago at 1,000 a coin or 50,000 a coin, and he used that to pay his premium, you never sold your Bitcoin, you just transferred it into Meanwhile to pay your premium. That's not the Bitcoin you're using for policy loans. You get new, different Bitcoin at a new stepped up cost basis that's established on the day you originate the loan. In this case, the Bitcoin he has have $1 million cost basis. And it's part of the loan docs and it's in there. And he can show that to the exchange and say, hey, these coins are $1 million coins. They say, great. And he says, well, I actually want to sell them at $1 million too. So I'm going to do a limit order sale of $1 million a coin for 2 coins. And once it gets filled, he then has 2 million cash. He withdraws from the exchange into his bank account. Now he has $2 million in his bank account. And he doesn't have to repay the 2 million. Remember, the 2 Bitcoin netted out of his death benefit. There's an interest rate on that borrow, which is 3%, pretty low interest rate if you look at the rest of the interest, the interest rates in the broader Bitcoin economy when it comes to borrowing. And that also gets netted out of the remaining death benefit. So you don't get invoiced, you don't have to pay your interest every year. It just nets out of what's left in your death benefit. So 18 becomes 16, and then the interest rate will come out of that remaining 16. And now you have 2 million cash, which you could do whatever you want, buy a house, whatever it might be. And if you think about it, what you just accomplished is you sold 2 Bitcoin at a new price way up in the sky, $1 million a coin, and you pay 0 in taxes because whole life insurance has all these tax advantages built into it. The same way where if your traditional life insurance portfolio is up 30%, you borrow money out, you don't have to pay cap gains in the 30% appreciation. It's the same exact thing, except Bitcoin being highly convex with this asymmetric upside, it's up 1,000%. Still don't have to pay taxes on it. So now you're able to use this policy loan feature to monetize your Bitcoin asset. And the last piece I'll say about our product, which will answer your question, is what happens if there's a death? What happens when there's a claim? Well, there's 3 parties to every life insurance contract. There's the owner, the insured, and the beneficiary. The owner can be an entity or a trust or a person, and they're responsible for paying the premiums and they have access to the policy loans. Then you have the insured. With us, it's a single human life, ages between 18 and 65. When that insured human passes away, then there's a claim where the payout goes to the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries can be one person, multiple people, all your kids, and equal splits, grandkids. It can be a trust fund. It can be a charity. It could be an entity. And so when there is a death, let's say this person who borrowed the 2 Bitcoin, his remaining was 16, and he passes away, and his wife was the beneficiary. Well, all she needs to know is that he had a policy at this life insurance company. She doesn't need to know his passwords, his private keys, his ledgers, the safes and safety deposit boxes that contain his seed phrases. She doesn't need to know anything about crypto, anything about wallets or wallet architecture or cybersecurity when it comes to private key protection. All she needs to know is that he had a life insurance policy at Meanwhile, and she has to reach out to them saying that this person who was the insured passed away. And what happens then? Well, Meanwhile, we'll work with the beneficiaries with, we understand a grieving, in this case, widow or family, and we'll help them get whatever they want. In a white glove concierge way, we understand that usually people who have the policy, they understand crypto, but maybe the beneficiaries don't, and we don't expect them to. And they have the option of receiving Bitcoin, the 16 remaining Bitcoin, or to get cash. Whatever they receive, it's tax-free because upon death, there is a new cost basis. So just like with traditional life insurance, if you have $1 million policy and you die, the family gets $1 million tax-free. Same thing with crypto. They're going to get it tax-free. Mechanically, that works by establishing a new cost tax basis upon death. So if they say, I'll take the Bitcoin, here's my wallet, and we'll help them move it into that wallet. If they say, I don't know anything about Bitcoin, my husband was the one who was the Bitcoin crypto guy, and now he's gone, and I don't want this coin stuff anymore. I just want cash. We will help them liquidate it. We custody at Anchorage. Anchorage is a great partner of ours. They have a tremendous spot trading desk, and we can liquidate the remaining assets with them on their trading desk into cash. It gets a new cost basis, so it's tax-free, and they get all of the Bitcoin's cash value upon death, and we'll help them transfer it into a bank account. So what you get out of all this is, with a product with Meanwhile, with Bitcoin-denominated life insurance, is 2% yield in Bitcoin-denominated terms, which, by the way, think about if Bitcoin in dollars is up every year, on average 20, 30, 40, 50%, well, then that 2% yield in Bitcoin terms is amplified by potentially orders of magnitude. So you get 2% Bitcoin yield, you get these tax-free policy loans, and you get this seamless inheritance where your family gets more Bitcoin than you originally paid in. 10 Bitcoin has 18 in death benefit, and they get it seamlessly without having to know where your ledger and Trezor are, what your private keys and seed phrase, where the safes and safety deposit boxes are, the whole treasure map that you essentially have to lay out and create for a family member should you die if you have Bitcoin in self-custody, because it's very complicated. And, lots of Bitcoin has been permanently lost, which is a tragedy, especially at these prices near all-time highs. If you have family or loved ones, you don't want to have this very valuable asset that dies with you. So what we created, this product really solves a lot of problems. That's why I have my own policy. And I guess the last piece is, you probably saw that we raised our latest fundraising
Yeah.
last
That
week,
was my next question. Yeah.
which
Because
was
you're
which was
headed,
great.
yeah. Because you're headed toward that 50,000, right? When will you hit the 50,000?
I'll let you know when we hit the 50,000, but we're up and to the right. Yeah, so we raised 82 million last week. We've raised over 140 million to date since the company was founded in 2022. Our backers include Northwestern Mutual, Wences Cesares from Zappo Bank, um, Apollo, On Ventures, Pantera, Folger, Framework. We have a pretty robust list of investors that we're very proud of. Sam Altman from OpenAI is an investor. So, we have a lot of people that believe in us, a lot of people that are buying policies. Our funnel of applicants is in the thousands. And we're just trying to educate everyone about what is Bitcoin denominated life insurance, and how does it work and what problems does it solve. And hopefully I did a decent enough job, conveying and articulating all that today. Happy to talk through any further questions.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's great. And I first heard about it when I was at the Bitcoin conference earlier this year. And so I was really curious. I was telling people about it and I was like, have you heard about this? Because you're solving so many problems that people, do have. Because I've thought about that. I have like a weird question. So has anyone with the insurance passed away?
No, not yet. They haven't got any claims yet.
That was
We
just
we
one question I have because I know it's early and people would be, just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, no, we are. Of course, we're ready for whenever that day does come about. And of course, the only thing guaranteed in life are, well, they say death and taxes, but with your Bitcoin, maybe not so much taxes through a life insurance policy, but certainly death is guaranteed. So we are ready for when claims will start to come about. We have a very strict underwriting process, though. We only approve about 70% of applicants. We're conservative by nature. We're highly regulated and overseen by our regulators, the Bermuda Monetary Authority. And so we're not looking to take any unnecessary risk with our assets, with who we underwrite. with any counterparties or infrastructure providers in the crypto ecosystem and beyond. So yeah, we haven't had any claims yet, but we will, communicate that to the world when there is a claim in the most appropriate way, just to, reassure everyone that these things happen, we expect them to happen, and this is what happened when it occurred and how it played out.
Yeah, I was curious about that. But yeah, it seems like this, it's going to make it easier for so many people. So I agree with you. This is
Yeah, I
amazing.
think this is a no-brainer. If you have Bitcoin, this is such a no-brainer. Right now we operate primarily in the US and Canada. We are going global. Part of our fundraise is to expand globally. The first couple of markets we're going to hit are Hong Kong and then probably Singapore, and slowly go to all the other markets in the world to provide, our CEO has been quoted saying we are going to serve 1 billion people globally and be the largest life insurer on the planet in the coming decade. So that is our aspirations, and the only way to do that is by serving every market on the planet.
Well, I will probably be seeing you all in November, I think, at the Futurist, your
I'll
conference.
be
Yeah.
speaking. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I thought so. So I'll probably be seeing you speak in November. But yeah, thank you so much for coming and explaining this. It's really amazing.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Kelly.